But please, Richard, shoot.
Okay. So we're UK residents in the process of applying for a non-lucrative visa in Spain with a view to becoming resident. So we're in Spain at the moment, and we're traveling back next week. We have an appointment in Manchester because we were resident in Wales. So my question is this. We know we can get our passports back once we put our application in, probably after a couple of weeks. Does the 90-day rule become suspended once you put your application in? We have heard that it does.
As far as I understand, no.
No. Okay.
So, I mean, when you're applying for the visa and you get, first of all, you mentioned that you are going to get your passport back.
Yeah, you can fill in a form that requests you get your passport back.
This is BLS. Like you apply, you submit the papers, and they give you your passport, and then you bring it back when your visa is granted.
Yeah, I guess. So the BLS send everything to the consulate, the Spanish consulate, including the passport. When they look at the papers, they see this form requesting we have our passport back, and they post it to us. So that probably takes a couple of weeks. So our intention was to travel back to Spain to until we got the visa hopefully granted. But we're going to be bumping into the 90-day rule.
Okay, so first of all, Richard, I wasn't like absolutely sure about the fact that you could get your passport back.
Yeah.
As you know, basically my knowledge of this visa processing, I'm not an immigration lawyer, but I am all the time talking to the community and to the different people applying at different consulates. So this is like a very consulate-based thing, okay? Whether you can get your passport back or not. And to be honest, like the UK consulates were quite strict about keeping the passports. So 2 years ago, it was quite easy to get your passport back. You said, I need to travel, I need to buy a property in Spain. Look, here are like my emails with a realtor, whatever. You know, you said a reason, and they will let you keep your passport and you submit your papers and everything. Then things changed and got a little bit more strict, and especially Manchester, okay? But London, I don't know, it just changes by the person. I didn't know there was actually a formal procedure, a formal form or official form where like you can ask to get your passport back. I didn't even know. Nobody shared this in the groups before or even mentioned it. So you're the first time someone tells me about this. So I'm happy, first of all, to hear it, that there is this possibility, because British people had it extremely hard to get a second passport, or impossible, because, you know, applying for a visa, it was not one of the reasons to get a second UK passport. So first of all, I'm surprised, like happily surprised, that you can get your passport back. Okay, you can get your passport back. About the 90-day rule suspension, I'm afraid like I'm not 100% sure about this. For example, for the digital nomad visa, it does work this way. Okay, when you apply in Spain, okay, you move to Spain, you can apply from Spain. This is not the case of non-lucrative visa. And while you're applying for the visa, while your visa is being processed, and if you get denied maybe, and you get to resubmit it within your 90 days, your 90-day rule is, let's say, you can stay in Spain longer than those 90 days. But it doesn't mean that the 90-day rule is suspended elsewhere in Schengen.
Right. Yeah, no, it's only Spain that I was interested in.
Right. Okay. So I think, I mean, in order, to be consistent with what happens with the digital nomad visa,
yeah,
it could be possible, but I'm not 100% sure. The thing is, for the digital nomad visa, you can apply from Spain, and it does make sense that they let you stay while the visa is being applied for, because you are in Spain. It would be absolutely crazy that they kick you out while you're applying for a visa to stay.
Yeah.
But that's because you are in Spain. But if you apply from London, they give you your passport back, and then while you're applying in London, that they suspend the 90-day rule in Spain. That's a great question. I can't answer.
Well, I'll let you know.
You need to prepare me for this. Tell me to take my medicine before jumping into these questions.
So we did travel back once.
Let me write down that question. Let me write down that question, because hopefully I'm gonna meet some lawyer, or I'm gonna talk to some lawyer, or asking you're part of the non-lucrative visa Facebook group?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really use Facebook, so.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like Facebook, or whatever, for whatever reason, but it is so helpful. This community is so helpful because so many people in your same situation, right? So I'm gonna write these questions like, does the 90-day rule gets suspended if I get my passport back from London consulate while applying for an NLV? I guess that's probably not proper English, but
I'm actually applying to Manchester.
Oh, Manchester. Okay.
Yeah.
Important. You're right. You said you were from Wales.
Wales. Yeah.
Okay.
So I know that they have the form to get your passport back, because we actually went back a couple of weeks ago, and we knew you could get your passport back, but we understood it would be in a couple of days. But it turns out it's a couple of weeks. By the time they look at the documents, they find that you want your passport, and then they post it. So we actually cancelled that appointment, and now we've made a new one. But we're hoping to come back, because one of the conditions that you apply is that if you are in Spain, you need to be there legally. So obviously, if they don't suspend the 90 days during our application being considered, we're actually in Spain illegally.
Absolutely. And I understand your concern. We all want to be legal wherever we are and not break any rules. Doesn't make any sense.
We don't want it to mess up the visa application.
So if you want, Richard, since you don't use Facebook so much, you can send me an email to hello@spainguru.es, and I will ask this question informally to an immigration lawyer that I partner with, and hopefully she will give me an answer to this question. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to recap. You will submit your documentation at BLS appointment, and they will let you keep your passport while the documents are being processed. Okay.
Well, they take the documentation and then they see the form in there, and then they post the passport back.
Fantastic.
Hello.
I want to welcome another viewer, Craig. Thank you so much for connecting today. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing very well. Thank you for offering this time. I have a question. I'm an American, and I legally moved to Portugal 2 years ago, and I live in Portugal now. They just changed the residency requirements to apply for citizenship from 5 years to 10 years. And I'm bored out of my mind, so I don't want to stay here. I want to apply for a non-lucrative visa to Spain.
Okay.
And I was hoping to do it from Portugal, the Porto consulate. My first question to you is, have you had much experience with people applying from a different country other than their country of origin?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And a few Americans in Portugal, because Portugal became quite a popular destination for those reasons, access to citizenship or good taxes and many more things. But yeah, a few Americans thinking about moving to Spain after being in Portugal, actually.
Okay. Yeah. So my other question is I understand that you need to have like a legal standing from where you apply. So I do have a residence permit here in Portugal. It will be expiring soon, and I plan on renewing it. But my challenge is Portugal is very, very, very slow to process anything. And once my residence permit expires here, according to Portugal, I am still legal because they grant extensions for being slow. They grant immigrants extensions on their residence permit by law. But is that enough for Spain? Will Spain recognize that extension even if my card is expired? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I don't know.
You're getting some tricky ones this morning.
Fair. I understand. It's, so, okay.
To be honest, Greg, I don't think anyone would know. Because, this is the thing. Something like this is happening, for example, with the residence appointments in Spain. There are no appointments. You have a requirement to get your residence card within 30 days of entering Spain, but no one can because there are no appointments. So all the authorities understand this, and they're very flexible.
Okay.
Because of it, right?
Okay.
I don't know if the officers in the Spanish consulates in Porto are flexible.
Right. Okay. So when
I don't know, there are 2 officers reviewing non-lucrative visa applications in Porto, and one of them is a great guy, happy guy that will take that paper that is expired because he understands that everyone is in this situation, and the other person had a bad morning, dropped the coffee on the floor, and will not.
Okay. So,
you have to be a legal resident within the jurisdiction of your consulate.
Right. And they do ask for verification, right?
They do it. Why they do this?
No, do they ask to show that?
I mean, you need to prove that you're a legal resident. The proof, the proof has to be an official proof. If you're in the States, driving license. If you're in the UK, something that shows your name and your address. Yes.
Okay. So it's probably best I wait for Portugal to renew
everything. When there is something that is not very, very clear, you can make a case, a strong case, weak case. Strong case, you prove that you're a resident in Portugal by providing all the documentation you can. I don't know, your property, you're renting, you show your rental contract, you show your utility bills, you show your driving license from Portugal, I don't know. You show everything you can, but it could be that these guys are strict.
Right. Okay, fair. Okay, Because I mean, I looked in the
community.
Facebook groups and I didn't see anybody talk about any like applying from a third country. So yeah, okay,
A lot
I
of people are
understand. I
applying.
appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you not telling me some bullshit. So I really appreciate the
But,
honesty that
but
you
there are a lot of
you
people
don't do.
applying from other countries. A lot of people in the group are applying from any like from third countries where they are not
Okay.
originally. A lot,
Okay. All right.
you know.
That's good to know. So I can ask a question in the group and maybe I'll get more details. So, okay.
All right.
Thank you. Because my experience when I was, moving to Portugal, every time I had a question, I would go to one of the Portuguese expat groups. And my assumption is I'm not the first person. Someone else went through this. So, and I'd get an answer. So I will go to the groups and see what people have to say. So,
Absolutely. Or also,
yeah.
you could consult with a proper immigration lawyer. You can use like a
Right.
40-minute consultation. Unfortunately, that will cost money, but you will get some perspective. But it has to be someone with experience at the Porto consulate or at least
Right.
in Portuguese consulates.
Right. No, I understand. Yeah, yeah. So,
For example, if you send an email to my recommended lawyers, you can send them an email. It's for free, sending them an email and say, look, this is my situation. I am happy to hire a consultation, but only if you have the answer to my question.
right. That's why I started my talk with you. Have you had experience with? So, yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
Craig,
you.
you're welcome to stay here and write any questions or join later or anything. Richard,
Thank
did
you.
you have any
Thank
more
you.
questions?
Yeah. So listening to that, I suppose the first thing that comes to mind is I don't suppose it's possible to apply for a non-lucrative visa in Spain as a UK
No,
resident.
absolutely not. And recently there was a confusing thread in the group by a British lady who said that she was using a lawyer that, by the way, then she explained that wasn't an immigration lawyer.
Yeah.
And that she was applying from Spain. And everybody got absolutely crazy about it because she wasn't really giving any details. I was extremely surprised because you need to attend personally to the appointment. You can't even send someone with a power, a lawyer with power of attorney to represent you. You can't. So you can stay in Spain, for example, submit your documents. Fly to submit your documents, right? Let's say you can gather your documents while you are in Spain. Why not?
Yeah.
But you need to submit them personally, especially in the UK, where there is an in-person interview.
Yeah. So I guess from what you said of making a case, would it be worth our while we are once we've submitted our application and the application has reached the consulate from BLS, would it be worth making an appointment at the consulate to explain?
No. Everything is via BLS. You actually don't have contact with the consulate.
You can't make an appointment and discuss it.
Well, first of all, there's just one appointment at BLS office in Manchester.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
And then you just wait for news by email or whatever.
Exactly. Send you an SMS. BLS has different services. I understand you can pay for, some premium services. Like instead of pickup, they can send it to your address, etc. But that's it. You don't have contact with the consulate. You can still write to the consulate. There's an email, and you can write to the consulate, and maybe they answer your questions. And it is recommended to do so. For example, I will give you an example This is an American person who was actually here in the Q&A session, Bob. He's from Atlanta, and he is applying in Miami. But this knowledge applies for anywhere else. He got married in Germany. He had an apostille in 4 languages because the German authorities give an apostille with 4 languages, including Spanish. He wanted to know if he had to sworn translate that. This is, again, the same. You want to be in the safe side? Sworn translated, 40 euros per page. You want to take the risk and save those 40 euros? Don't do it. What he did is the clever thing. He wrote to Miami consulate, not BLS, consulate, and asked, can I submit this without sworn translating? And a nice person from the consulate said, yes, you can do it. He printed that email conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think he's going to be applying at Miami soon, like on Monday, in fact. And he got an official answer for this specific question from the consulate. And this is how he got contact with the consulate. But really, everything is done via BLS and Miami, the same as Manchester, London, or Edinburgh.
Yeah. Oh, that might be worth doing then. The downside of it is once you've asked the question and they say no, then you pretty much got to stick to it. Whereas if you don't ask the question, they may never know that we are beyond our 90 days.
Right.
Well, Richard, if you ask
that's not a question.
Richard, if you ask the consulate about your passport, they may say no, but BLS doesn't know that the consulate said no.
Yeah. So a BLS active in processing the visa, or do they just hand the information over to the consulate?
They hand the information to the consulate. Okay.
Yeah.
And I will give you another example from the US. You know that the medical certificate has a validity of 3 months. Okay. So someone applied at San Francisco a few months ago, and the medical certificate was valid, but it had only 1 week of validity left. So it was at 2.8 months since it was issued.
Yeah.
BLS rejected receiving that medical certificate because it was going to be valid only for 1 more week. And it took them longer to send the documentation to the consulate of San Francisco for review. And it was going to be invalid when the consulate was going to review the documentation. This is absolutely mind-blowing because, of course, this person was submitting a valid medical certificate, but then these guys came with some Kafkian stuff like this, okay, which would be absolutely, let's say, illegal to do or irregular to do. And if you are applying with a lawyer, the lawyer would fight it till the end, something like this. But this is again that BLS hands in the documentation to the consulate, and is the consulate is the final word, and they are the ones who are legally bound to sign this and to put the visa on the passport. It's not BLS. BLS is a handling company that puts everything in order and qualifies your submission so that they do 90% of the work.
Yeah.
But they are not,
because what BLS said,
authorities, BLS, they are not Spanish authorities. It's an Indian company, in fact.
Yeah. In fact, what they said at the interview we attended was that they just they obviously inspect the papers we give them, and then they send it later that day or the next day to the consulate. So I guess after that, they don't have any more involvement other than communicating with us.
Exactly. And look, I've been years in the communities, and I'm telling you, one of the questions is, do they send the papers to Spain? This is one of the questions, right?
Yeah.
I still don't know the exact answer to that. Because it seems that depending on the consulate and depending on the circumstances of the application, or, they do it. Yes. they tell you when you write the form, when you submit the form and you say like where are you gonna live, you say for example Valencia, Seville, whatever. They send it to that foreign office located in that province. Yes, to get some confirmation there. Okay, but it is not absolutely clear that they do. Especially this is absolutely impossible to be done for people who have been approved in 5 working days, for example.
Yeah.
You see,
yeah.
and this happened. For example, in Miami, it has happened 5 working days only. Those papers never went to Spain.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not very clear. It's not very transparent what they do with the papers, but for sure, BLS just qualifies, puts everything in order so it can be easily consumed by the officer who is the authority to grant you this visa.
Yeah. Have you got any idea of the length of time visas are taking to be granted at the Manchester consulate?
This changes all the time, and it changes depending on the seasonality. This is another good thing that people are all the time asking in the group, and it changes all the time because some people say, some people are like super record time, like 14 days. Other people say more than 3 months, which is over the official limit. Okay. Especially if they require extra documentation, they give you 10 days to provide it. So that will extend. But if I go here in Manchester, there's people asking all the time. But I would like to make a poll for people whether if they ask and the actual time in which they got their visas actually matched what they found out from others, because there's so many variations that it's.
Yeah.
I wish, I wish I could like publish at the UK and the American consulates how long it's taking to grant the visas, but it's something that is so continuously changing that it's impossible to track. So I will go to here and I will search Manchester. Recently submitted at-home service. You have an at-home service in Manchester. What is the wait time for the NLV at London? Someone asking June 24. Someone said exactly 5 weeks. We're 11 weeks. We waited 9.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, this is London, obviously, just to give you the variation. Let's see. Yeah. Manchester, June. Waiting list 15 to 18 weeks. Someone said.
Yeah.
Week 8 and praying daily, someone saying. 13 weeks for us. Just ask for more information. We were 10 weeks and 3 days. Because the thing is that this is not like a factory. Okay? First of all. Yeah. They get clogged, with paperwork, with submissions. And sometimes they say, like, look, now we got a lot of student visas, for example, just before the summer or whatever. And then they take all, they had 4 officers doing non-lucratives, and they move them, 3 of them, they put them to student visas. And then the non-lucrative pile up.
Yeah.
And stuff like that happens all the time.
If they ask...
Week 14, 10 weeks and 2 days Manchester for Murcia. 9 weeks to the day. Yeah. For these numbers, consider, I don't want to be negative, but it looks like over 10.
Yeah.
And if it's below 10 weeks, you are the chosen one, as they say in the Matrix.
What is their official limit? Is it 2 months?
90 days, 3 months.
90 days to process. Yeah. And
but
if they ask,
beyond that,
if they ask for more information, can you supply it by post, email, or do you have to submit it in person again?
I think it's by email.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I believe. I'm not 100% sure how that
Yeah.
works. But I know that you have like 7 working days, I think, or 10 days, like 10 natural days. So it's very, very. You have to understand which papers are weak when you're submitting. For example, you know that something may be contested or something may be wrong. Imagine that you're submitting all your papers, but for some reason your ACRO police check was expired when you submitted, but you submitted.
Yeah.
Get one. Meanwhile, you get one because you know that they're going to be asking for it, and you're only going to have 10 days to supply it. So submit everything, and then try to get the correct paper.
Yeah.
Or be ready. For example, sometimes, you didn't sworn translate something, and they want that sworn translation. Yeah. There's a lot of controversial things about like bank statements. Should I sworn translate only the summary pages? Should I sworn translate the apostilles? Depends on you, really, your appetite for risk. But make sure to have an urgent service sworn translators that you know that you can count on it. You can, of course, find on Spainguru.es urgent service, and
Are there sworn translators who do it online?
Everything is done online. They have an electronic signature, so you just scan the document, you get the sworn translation with a signature on top of it, and that's what you print it out and you submit it.
Because I've got the bank statements have been stamped by the bank. They've been translated, they've been apostilled, and they've been notarized. But the notarization page, I haven't had translated. So, are you in contact with a service that I could email a scan of that to, and them translate it?
Yes, of course. On Spainguru.es, you have UK private apostille services. You can also do it via the public way, okay? Right. But if you want a private one that works very, very smoothly, actually I have a discount for that service, and on Spainguru.es. I can give you the link. The thing is, I didn't know that you had to apostille your sworn, like your bank statements. Is this like part of the new requirements from Manchester? Because so far, Manchester hadn't updated the new financial requirements until last week, as far as I know.
We were certainly told that they needed to be apostilled.
The bank statements. Because, first of all, you can't apostille bank statements, first of all. You can apostille the notarization of a bank statement.
All right.
Right, because the bank statement is not let's say, a government official document that that can be apostilled directly. Potentially, you can go to a notary. The notary states that those bank statements are true, yes, and that notary signs, and then you can apostille the signature of that notary, but not the bank statement. Right?
Right. Yeah.
This is how it works, because but usually until now, until at least very recently, the bank statements don't need to be apostilled, in my opinion. There's no legal advice. Let's go to Manchester, because I'm starting to get a bit paranoid about Manchester. Let's go to Manchester page, because since May 20th, many consulates and BLS office decided to take that same date that the regulation changed, or the new regulations started to be effective, to add some extra financial requirements, right? Yeah. And actually, I was going to record a video yesterday with updates on that, but it had to be canceled. But I'm soon going to release one. So one video about that. I'm going to Manchester page. Actually, I'm going to share with you, screen share. Let me see. There. All right. So the easiest way for me is like I go to Spanish visas, Spain or lucrative visa, find your consulate, and then I go to the UK. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And then I go to Manchester. What do I have here? This is my dedicated page on Spainguru for Manchester. You have the 2 links to the official requirements for the non-lucrative visa. And here you have any content that I have that mentions Manchester. For example, there's one person that applied in Manchester in February. This is a first-hand experience. Anyways, let's go to the instructions in English. Let's go to the official thing. Let's see what Manchester says. We search for financial. Proof of financial means. These guys haven't updated anything.
No.
Okay. It says the applicants must submit the originals and copy documents proving that they have sufficient financial means. Blah blah blah. Minimum required amount is 400 the IPREM for the main applicant and 100 for each family member. Foreign documents must be legalized or apostilled, and where applicable, must be submitted together with the official translation. The sentence here. Well, it is stated there.
Yeah.
This is something new, eh?
Yeah.
This is something new. In my opinion, it's something new. Like, it's the first time that I hear that you need to start getting an apostille for something related to financial proof.
Yeah.
Just on the sake of let's go to other consulates and check what other consulates say, because let's go to London, for example. Let's see what the London people say. So, proof of financial means. You see, this one is much longer.
Yeah.
This is all financial stuff. The London guys have really expanded the information. They have this same sentence. Foreign documents must be legalized or apostilled, and where applicable, must be submitted together with an official translation into Spanish. You see, if this was to be applied to the letter, as we say in Spanish, you should sworn translate all the bank statements. And I just asked in a poll, and nearly 80% of people didn't sworn translate their bank statements in English, and they didn't have any problem. Okay, so they're not really doing the official sworn translation. Okay, regarding accounts of financial documents held abroad, and now this is the new requirements that they're asking. They're asking that they can clearly see the business name of the bank as well as its address. They need to see that you are the proper owner of those accounts with your full name, and that full name needs to match with your ID. They need to see when you opened the account and a few things. And you need to show the account balances as of December 31st, in this case, 2024, if you're applying this year. And the average balance per month. No, sorry, this is not per month. Other consulates say per month. The average balance of the previous year, right? This is happening in most consulates, if not in all consulates, in the UK and in America. Okay.
Yeah. The problem with UK banks is they don't post or email stamped bank statements. You have to pick them up in person. So
right.
So if we had to get bank statements for last year, we'd have to fly back to the UK just to get the bank statements stamped.
Holy. Yeah, I don't know why you want to come back to Spain while you're you need to be camping on a tent in front of Manchester's BLS office. in case they want something, because they can wake up one day and ask for something else.
Yeah. Well, we've just bought a motorhome to go back in to hang around for at least a month.
And look, in the case of London, they have this sentence twice. Foreign documents must be legalized and apostilled. And again, they copy it later on, after talking about some more stuff. I have a video where I ask about these new requirements to Ainhoa Manero of Stern Abogados on YouTube. Okay, and as I said, I was going to record another interview with the updates that she had from the consulates, because most of the people have had problems to get, first of all, wet stamps, but the certificates of average balances, that's something that most UK and US banks are not used to provide.
No.
These certificates. But long story short, you can watch the video. You can give it a like if you do. Long story short, you need to provide the document that is closest to the one that they want. If it's impossible for you to provide what they want. Okay?
Yeah.
Long story short. This is what I got. Okay, and here you can see the balance. Oh, my bank doesn't have the certificate for the balance. Oh, okay. You take your own Excel sheet, you calculate the balance, you explain everything, you make it very clear, concise, simple and concise. This is where the balance is. You notarize the balance, you apostille that notarization of the balance, you make it look official, you submit that paper, and that's what an experienced lawyer would do.
Yeah.
You see? But this is the London consulate. Although I'm telling you, in Manchester, they are asking for all this, but they didn't update their website.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with it.
Yeah. When I got the FCDO, the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office, to apostille our acros, and I noticed on their site they offer an apostille service for bank statements, even though it's not an official government document.
Oh, okay.
So we got a company to do it in the end, but I noticed it was on there. So it's probably something
Look,
they are. Yeah.
This is the video. NLV's financial requirements 2 weeks ago. This is, I discussed, I will put it in the chat as well. This is the video I'm talking to you about. If you want to hear the lawyer's words, this is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. But watch it and watch hopefully I will have a recording for next week with an update on that. Okay. Yeah. And hopefully I will be able also to ask your question that I couldn't answer before. Oh, I see that there's a question in the chat from someone called France that joined. I will also give permission, and I have also Judith who joined. Everyone can connect with their cameras and their microphones, or you can ask questions in the chat. Although if you ask in the chat, as you can see, I can be a little bit, I can forget about it. I tend to, sorry about the late arrival. It's 6:30 a.m. here. Wow. Thank you, France, for waking up so early. Thanks for this Q&A. Do birth certificates have to be translated and apostilled? Absolutely, yes. If they're not in Spanish. Okay, first of all, you only submit birth certificates if you're applying with children, first of all. Yeah. Second, if they were born in Spanish-speaking countries, those certificates would be in Spanish. You don't need to sworn translate something that is already in Spanish, right? If they're not, they have to be sworn translated. That's for sure. Okay, you can find sworn translators on Spainguru.es. Everything can be done online, as Richard was asking. You also need to apostille them, and they need to be apostilled by the authorities that issued the certificate. Okay, so for example, if they were born in the UK, it needs to have a UK apostille. If they were born in the States, the way it works is that each state issues the birth certificate. So it cannot be really a federal apostille in the States. It has to be a state apostille. They were born in California, it's a California state apostille.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just that I don't see it anywhere on the website. I don't see
Montreal.
where it says they have in Montreal. Yeah, it just says it's at the very bottom. It says if needed, they need to be. I think the translation is still there, but not the apostille. The apostille.
Oh yeah,
part.
they need to be apostille, and maybe because of the fact that Canada recently, when we said recently, is like a little over a year, joined the Hague Convention for the Hague for the apostille. So it's a quite new thing for authorities. It takes them time to update, but always you need to apostille the birth certificate. I have heard someone, for example, that was applying with Dubai documents, and for some reason Dubai doesn't do any legalization or apostille or anything, and this person was a bit upset because this person asked like several lawyers. They told this person, you need to get an apostille or a certification from the authorities that this is legit, blah, blah, blah. And this person find out that for Dubai documents, it wasn't necessary because everybody knew that in Dubai, they don't provide anything of this. But Canada certainly joined the Hague Convention for apostille. So,
but where do I see this on their website? They updated like May of this year they updated that information, and you can see the new financial requirements has to be apostille and translated. But I don't see anywhere where it says that the birth certificates have to.
Let me see. Let's go to Spainguru. We go to Spainguru.
Yes.
And we put Spanish visas, non-lucrative visa. Find your consulate. No. Here we have our consulate.
It's the one in Montreal.
Let's go to Montreal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's not so much content being generated for Canadian consulates because I don't see so many Canadians applying
there's a lot
share their experience. That share their experience. They're very secretive. I mean, it used to be crazy when it took months to get an apostille. And it was a big issue because it was easier to send the document to a Canadian consulate outside of Canada and get the apostille there in a consulate and then make a friend to send it back to Canada rather than doing it internally in Canada. That was the case. Now it's no longer the case. Exactly. So let's see here. Let's search for the word birth. Required documents for family members. Documents constituting proof of family relationship with the applicant accrediting financial means, birth or marriage certificate issued by the civil registry, certificate of registration as an unmarried couple in this case, any other documents substantiating an unmarried partnership, foreign documents not issued in Canada. Foreign documents not issued in Canada must be legalized and apostille and where applicable.
You see, that's my question. So I wonder if they still have to be apostille and translated into Spanish.
All right. First of all, where is the birth certificate from?
Quebec.
All right.
So it's issued in Canada. But it clearly says only foreign documents.
If I read this sentence, is that you don't need to apostille if the birth certificate is from Canada.
Yeah, I think it still has to be translated to get, and where applicable, sure. I guess it still has to be translated, but I don't think it still has to be apostille. But I wanted to be sure.
Right.
Because of that sentence.
Look, the other day someone sent me, a community member sent me an email that, look, I was like 2 hours doing an investigation because of his email, because I wanted to know, and I still got the answer wrong. So the question was, this is a British woman who married in Greece. Okay, this is related to your question, and why I cannot give you a proper answer to this. This person was married in Greece. Okay, the European Union says that every official document from within the European Union should not need an apostille, and every other member country in the European Union should accept as legitimate, any document issued by another EU member country. This is ruled by the European Union. However, people are required to apostille their marriage certificates and birth certificates from other EU countries at Spanish consulates. You see, it's against the EU rule. That is actually happening. So I hope this is not something in this situation. I hope that this is as clear as it is read, that if it's Canadian, you don't need an apostille, okay? But I would be very, very cautious about this, very cautious, because birth certificates always get an apostille, even within the EU, okay? European Union. So this is a great question for the Spanish non-lucrative visa Facebook group and for my lawyer. I mean, if you can send me an email, maybe I can ask again a lawyer. I can't promise anything. She's very busy, but I will ask this question.
Sure. Your email is on the Spainguru website?
The email is hello@spainguru.es. Not com. Yes. Here it is. I will write it down here. hello@spainguru.es. Right?
Okay.
And you can also join the Facebook group and ask the community. Are you using actively Facebook?
Yeah, I was thinking of writing it there. And the NLV group?
Yeah, here's the link of the NLV group.
I'm going to see if I remember, but I think I am.
That's the link.
Yeah, I remember. Spanish. I'll ask the question there.
Also ask it there.
Yeah, I'll ask it there. That was the only question I had.
Today is very
tricky. It wasn't there anymore.
Today is very, very tricky. Guys, you're really putting me to the limit. We'll try to sleep more hours before jumping into these Q&A sessions. No, these are absolutely legit questions, and I would be very puzzled, and makes all the sense in the world to avoid any of these procedures. Like getting apostilles. Of course, they're expensive and take time, and you have validity period. So if you can avoid them, of course, that would be great.
Are the contact details for the online translators on Spainguru? Yes.
Absolutely, I can show you. I can walk you around Spainguru, because not that I did it myself, but it's an awesome tool, and it's absolutely free to use. Okay, it's absolutely free. Yeah, it's absolutely free to go on Spainguru. First of all, here you have 3 cards. Webinars, you have 6 webinars: non-lucrative visa, digital nomad, taxes, Portugal golden visa, and moving to Spain. Then you have the newsletter that is for free, and here you have a step-by-step move to Spain checklist, which is something new that I just released. Okay,
right.
But if you already know that you want the certain visa, then you can go here to Spanish non-lucrative visa. Okay, and that's everything there is about Spanish non-lucrative visa. You want to go for the professional vetted partners that I have. Immigration and tax lawyers, the most important ones here, but there is services for Spanish visas that has basically all the services you want. Immigration lawyers, health insurance for non-lucrative, sworn translators, apostilles in the US and UK. These are private services for apostilles. Medical certificate by UK doctors and Spanish doctor. Not in the US, unfortunately, but in the US, with many consulates, you can use the Spanish doctor certificate. Financial services. These are more like auxiliary services, like opening bank accounts, currency converters, etc., etc. My email is here, and this is me. And here you have the webinars again, the guides for the different visas, and apartment rentals, mortgages, if you plan to buy, parcel, international moving quotes, online Spanish classes for adults with discount, international driving permit for the first 6 months in Spain, and so many things, all the groups, all the Facebook groups, the Reddits, and all the channels and everything. So if I go to the Spanish non-lucrative visa guide, here we have my last webinar recording, the next webinar if you want to join, the absolute guide here, all the consulates pages, the services related to it, interesting videos with 55 frequently asked questions by a lawyer answered, and most common questions, etc. But of course, you guys are not gonna be happy with those common questions. You have gotten answers to those long time ago, I'm sure. You come here with the hard stuff, which I like. So yeah, you can go to Spainguru here and services for Spanish visas, and here you can find everything. You want strong translators, you go here, and you have here all the strong translators. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Craig.
About the medical certificate. Do you have information about what sorts of medical conditions would be excluded?
Yeah, so the medical certificate is, first of all, absolutely different than the health insurance, okay?
Right.
Because the way that you ask the question makes me think of the health insurance rather than of the medical certificate. So the medical certificate is just a paper that is based on a protocol from 2005 from the World Health Organization, okay?
Okay.
And the list of illnesses that they talk about are like infectious disease. We're talking about like, yellow fever, this kind of stuff. Okay? Here it says, this is a sample of medical certificate, International Health Regulation 2005. This is what the doctor is certificating that you are not a holder of this of the list of illnesses listed in this protocol. Okay. Then you meant, the initial question that you made about like pre-existing conditions, was it that you mentioned?
I just wanted to know if there was a list of conditions, like it's things like tuberculosis, yellow fever, rabies, things like that, right? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so you need to click here, and a number of questions here. Diane and France. Diane, what is the best way to transition from NLV to a work visa? So there are different pathways to do so. This is what people recommend. Renew your non-lucrative visa first, okay? Because if you don't renew your non-lucrative visa, you may end being denied your work permit, and then you don't have your renewed residence. So you would be illegal. Okay? So the best way to transition from NLV to work visa is you pass 1 year under the non-lucrative residence. Yeah, you get your TA card with your residence card, you renew your non-lucrative, and after you renew, you apply for a work permit. You have two ways for work permit proper. Okay, you have, if a company is ready to sponsor you, you get a job offer. This is por cuenta ajena or por cuenta propia, which is autónomo or self-employed freelancer. You want to start a business, you have a business plan, you have to submit this, you need to get approved. I'm not saying this is easy, and this is not absolutely automatic. You can get denied, okay? It's not that after 1 year of non-lucrative visa, you have the right to change to a work permit. No, not at all. This is modifying a non-lucrative residence into a work permit, and you need to comply with the requirements. Therefore, the safest bet is to have renewed your previous residence. These are not the only pathways to start working. If you work remotely, for example, you can transition from a non-lucrative visa to a digital nomad visa. Many people are doing this, which is controversial because it means that you have been working remotely even under the non-lucrative residence, which is a gray area. Okay, a lot of people are working remotely for non-Spanish companies under the radar, and they're still being approved to modify their residences to a teleworkers residence. There's another pathway. You have also highly qualified worker, okay, which is less common because you need to have a certain income level that is quite high. I think it's 40K plus, and whereas the digital nomad is 2,700 per month minimum threshold. So yeah, those are the general pathways. Diane, I hope I answered your questions. This is not legal advice. Please consult with a lawyer if you happen to really be thinking about doing this. I mean, honestly, like I tell you this not as a business owner. I tell you as a person who has lived in Spain for more than 20 years. Go with a professional. At least consult with a lawyer, with an immigration lawyer, just to understand what the real pathways you have according to your specific situation, and also thinking about your long-term goals in Spain. Your audio is disabled. I don't know. That's a great question. But you can hear me, right? Okay, cool. France, great. So at least, Diane, I wasn't talking to air. Great. So, France, I have a question regarding medical certificate, please. Great.
Yes.
So what's your question?
If I use a pre-translated model, well, actually, I have two. I'll give you the two questions right away. If I use a pre-translated model, would it need to be translated into like from French to? I know they exist in English, but they don't need to be translated officially, so they save the translation fees. This is what I'm gathering. It's more like a confirmation.
The trick is that it needs to be depending on the template, because unfortunately there's not official template like this, like the form 790 or the X01. These are official forms. The medical template, depending on the consulate, some of them they provide one template, other provide another template. So I don't know exactly what template you have. But if it's something like this, the top will be in the local language, the language of the doctor. The doctor needs to sign the top, and the doctor needs to sign also the Spanish one. This is something that some doctors don't like. Sometimes the Spanish doctor, the doctors who don't speak Spanish don't like to sign things that in a language that they don't understand. And there could be a friction there, but you need to get that signed too, just to make sure that the officer will be happy when they see this medical certificate.
Okay. And the second one I have is like
doing the sworn translation.
It's about the apostille or the legalization, because some doctors work in institutes that are government. They might have if they have the certificate, it might have the overhead might be of a ministry and not necessarily their cabinet. That would have to be apostille instead of legalized because it comes from a ministry.
The information that I had is in Canada, you didn't need to legalize or apostille this medical certificate. That's the information that I had until today.
No. This is like a different question. Like, let's say they only have a French version, and it has a logo from a ministry because they work at the hospital, and then it might be the logo of the ministry. Would that be considered a public act to be apostille, or it would just need to be legalized by the notaries here? I'm giving you hard questions today, eh?
No. What document are we talking about now?
The medical certificate, because some of the doctors work in hospitals, and the hospitals would be
listen,
the overhead might be a ministry, like the Ministry of Health
right
logo.
But so, Franz, the only place where I heard that the medical certificates need a legalization is the UK. That's it. And in Canada, I've seen people asking the question, like, do I need to legalize my medical certificate? And people answer, I applied for the NLV and I got the NLV and I didn't have to do it. Okay, this could have changed. This could have changed this very morning. Okay, what I'm telling you. But this is the information that I have right now. If you give me 1 second. Yeah, I have my audio back. Fantastic. I'm happy to hear that. I'm going to give you permissions for if you want to join. So let me just search Spainguru, Canada. I think it was Toronto.
No, Montreal.
I know, yeah, sorry. But I'm trying to find Toronto medical certificate. For Canada. I'm trying to find a piece of content that I have. 25 May 2025. So, medical certificate for non-lucrative visa. Do you need notarization apostille in Canada? What do you think about Spainguru? I have a piece of content for everything. I just have to remember that I had it.
But apostilles go by province, depending if the document was issued by a federal government or by a province.
Listen, this one, and I'm not saying that this is going to be the ultimate or definitive answer to your question, but I have something that is very, very close. So someone has asked, medical certificate from Spain non-lucrative visa. Do you need notarization apostille in Canada? Medical certificate from the Spain non-lucrative visa, Toronto consulate, bonus if you're based in the West on the West Coast. You get the medical certificate notarized and otherwise authenticated. If you did, what was the process? Did the notary come to your appointment? Blah, blah. Did mine in Vancouver 1 year ago. To my doctor's certificate, actually just statement taken from a template from the consulate and went to the notary's office. Very simple. They had it, then had it apostille. Oh, then I was wrong. We went through Montreal. December, we got our trial, had to take TB test criteria from the consulate. We're a letterhead paper. That's it. This one didn't need an apostille. At the time, only government issued 4 documents needed to be authenticated, such as Canadian marriage certificates. Only government issued foreign documents, foreign to Spain, needed to be authenticated. This is related to your previous question, actually.
Yeah.
Someone said, we're talking about December 2023.
But that was before the Hague change in January 2024.
I would ask the consulate all this. And from Vancouver last year, I had to get my medical certificate notarized from an approved notary. And then I had to send to authentication of British Columbia for the apostille. Took about a month back in June 2024, I understand. I went to Leonardo and Crowder's Notary Corp in North Barnaby. I will send you this link. Unfortunately, there is not. It seems that you need to try to legalize it. Sorry, this is not. I got some Google advertisement here. Can I delete this? Delete message. Here's the link. You can see in the chat, Franz. You can see in the chat the link to this article. Thanks. And of course, not legal advice. Please take it with a pinch of salt. Hopefully, this adds you more information.
Yeah, because it was before they joined. It was before Canada joined in January 2024, the Hague Convention. Yeah.
Yeah, but now we have read all this information, which is a bit confusing. It seems that you need to apostille. You need to apostille everything. Your birth certificate, the birth certificate of your children, and your medical certificate, if that is possible to do, it seems.
Yeah, well, it depends which, like some provinces don't have apostille services and other provinces do. So depending on where you live, I think BC, Ontario, and Quebec do have it, but smaller provinces you might not.
So the answer from a lawyer would be something around like, if it's impossible to provide, it doesn't mean that you are not able to get your non-lucrative visa. If they are asking you something that is impossible to provide, it's not like, I don't know, the different provinces in, I don't know, in Canada. Okay, Saskatchewan is one of them. All right, imagine that in that province there is no way to legalize it. It means that people who live there cannot apply for the non-lucrative visa, will always be rejected, because no, it doesn't work like that. You have to make a case.
No, I think if they don't have their own apostilles, Global Affair does it for them. This is what I understood from their website, or they get it legalized. There's something to do, like if you go on Global Affairs for the apostilles, it explains it, for every province, so it's not a problem. But certain provinces do have their own official apostille services for their official documents that were issued by a ministry or a government or something. But not all provinces do. But there's always a legalization for everything else.
Well, Franz, this is you're a pioneer here, and this is how the Spainguru community feeds from its members, because you have a few questions and you're not the last one to have them, and because no one answered them before very clearly, starting by the consulates, you're gonna be in charge of gathering that information and sharing it with the community, so other fellow Canadians can smoothly travel this procedure.
Yeah, I have a little secret. I am a person who answers questions in a group of Quebecers, of French speaking, so that's why I have the questions for this. They came up into my mind, when I was reading the new website and everything. So that's it for me, I think, for my questions. But thanks a lot.
Fantastic. Well, Franz, thank you so much. And if you get the answers to those questions, please share it in the NLV group, and so everyone can find those informations and benefit from those answers, because it is a bit confusing what needs to be done in Canada.
I'm gonna try the consulate to ask the question, but they don't answer in Montreal. They rarely answer. So
I know, they're not very responsive. Thank you, Franz. Thanks for connecting today. All right, so I think we've been through the limit. I was thinking about finishing about 1. It's 1:24 here in Spain, southern Spain, and I think most of the questions we discussed them. Some of them were answered, and some of them are my homework to ask to others. So thank you so much for joining today. As I said, this is not legal advice, and I highly recommend you to engage with professionals, immigration, taxes, at the very least, before moving to Spain. And of course, if you're already applying for this visa, it is perfectly done. It could be perfectly done, do it yourself. 50% of people choose to do it themselves, and the other half uses professional services, and most of them are happy with using professional services. In any case, you can use Spainguru for absolutely free. Join the community, watch the videos, get the newsletter, and read the blog posts. And I hope you will find the answers for the questions that you're asking. Was this recorded so I can watch it? Of course, this is recorded, and I ask permission of all of you, please, to post this online. Although I said it at the beginning as well, but all my Q&As are posted later, and you're gonna receive the link to your email, the same email that you used to register for this webinar, you will receive a link to Spainguru's YouTube channel, and hopefully I will upload it by today. You have services in French, so I can refer your website. So yes, I mean services in French. We're talking about sworn translations, maybe, or lawyers who speak French. Most of the lawyers, some of them do. But what I definitely hear in services for Spanish visas, if you look at sworn translators, Translate, this one, has sworn translations in every language pair. So French, Spanish, English, Spanish, anything. Okay, here for, and we're talking about sworn translations. Okay, so translate from French, Canada, even, you can choose, to Spanish. And one page, you upload the file, and here you select sworn translator. Right? It's about 39 per page. So French is a very important language, and it is affordable. It's not like translating from more difficult languages that the price of the sworn translation goes up. So yeah, definitely this is one service that you can use in French. And then from the lawyers, depending on the lawyers that you contact on Spainguru, they may have services like French-speaking people in their teams. Okay, if everything needs to be done in French. So yeah, here are the lawyers and tax advisors. You have Spanish immigration experts, tax experts. They are certified translators from Spain. Yes, absolutely. Sworn translators. Sworn translators are appointed by the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Spain, and this company puts you.
They put us in contact. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, definitely you can use this. Spanish, European, sworn translator, okay? This is not a normal translator or professional translator. These are sworn translator with their Ministry of Foreign Affairs stamp that can legally process documents and have to be accepted by any Spanish institution, including consulates.
Yeah, I just give them the list of the translators, but it's longer to find through that.
Yeah, of course, it's that, you know, anything that is official, they're not thinking about, let's say, the user experience. So in Spainguru, you have everything in one place. There's so much, and unfortunately, it's a bit noisy, but here you have the services here, and you know the health insurance that you need, NLV compliant, medical certificates.
I refer them to your website for that already, for the health insurance all the time.
And I also speak French if you need for anything, although my French is not as fluent anymore as my English because I married an American, so I'm speaking in English all the time, every day, even with my kids. So, but yeah, I studied in the Lycée Français when I was a child, and yeah, it's almost like it's my third language. But
I'm pretty sure if you did one in French, you would get a few people from Quebec. Because the question is, would you understand their French when they ask questions?
Yeah, the Quebecois accent is it's a hard time. It's hard. I love, for example, I think I watch French speaking movies from Canada, like Jean-Jacques Hano. I love this director. I watch some content like for kids from Canada, and then my kids watch. But yeah, unfortunately, English is not unfortunately, but the fact is that Spainguru is only in English because it's impossible for me to have everything in different languages. But for example, recently YouTube started to automatically add French to my videos, so it's crazy. that I can hear myself speaking in French in my YouTube videos. But I would recommend if they speak English to watch in the original language, because we're talking about legal stuff.
Yes.
And unfortunately, like automatic translations from Google are not very good and can be quite misleading sometimes.
Okay. Well, I don't think I have any more questions. It was just like more about these were more it was more specific to your website, because I do refer them to the website of the government for translators, but it would be easier to go to yours right away to find the language, the sworn translator, as you said.
Look,
so
here I'm showing you my video, French from France.
Yes.
This is my video. Like, can you hear this? Like, this is my last webinar about moving to Spain, and you can select the audio. And you can select French. Unfortunately, the internet connection is quite low because I'm taking most of the bandwidth with the webinar. But, you can watch the videos in French. Okay, thank you so much for joining today. I appreciate that you wake up so early to join and to ask many questions. Stay in
touch. So thanks a lot. And, I'm probably going to attend your other one later this month if I wake up early enough to get like an overview again of your thing. So I have my French national certificate going on, so I'm going to Spain that way. So thanks a lot.
Right. See you. Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. I'm going to leave you a review.
Take care. Obrigado.
Thank you. Muito obrigado.